You know what? No. I'm no longer willing to accept this. This is my cheap and stupid kettle. It does absolutely nothing smart. In order for me to turn it on, I have to flick a switch. I don't want to do that. I want to control it through Home Assistant like everything else in my home. So on today's episode of Mellow Labs, we're taking this cheap, stupid kettle and making it smart. To begin with, I need to set myself some design restrictions because apparently I'm not the only person in this household who uses the kettle, so I need to make it safe and reliable. With that under consideration, here's what I want to add. Number 1, I want to be able to turn it on and off using Home Assistant. Number 2, I want to be able to tell the temperature of the kettle. Number 3, I need to be able to tell how much water is in the kettle so that I don't accidentally run it dry. I don't actually know what happens when you run a kettle dry, but I assume fire and chaos ensues. Number 4, it needs to be able to run offline. With all that, I'm hoping I can do some cool software stuff, like setting the temperature of the water, so I can tell it to like turn the kettle on and wait for the temperature sensor to reach something like 70 degrees or to whatever threshold I set it to, and then it will turn off automatically. It should also be possible for me to keep the kettle warm by like turning it on and off and keeping it at consistent temperature. And I also want a kind of wake up function. So if I want to set it to like turn on at 7 a.m. so that when I get up and I want to make tea, the water is already ready for me. So those are the functions and features I want to include. I'm going to go do some research about how to actually do those things, and I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so after doing a whole bunch of research, I've come to the conclusion that there is no good way of actually telling how much water is in the kettle, mostly because all of the sensors that are made for water level sensing are either put it at this certain level where it will either be on or off, which is not what I want. I want to know how much water is in the actual kettle. And second of all of them involve you mounting it in or on the kettle, which is not what I want because I don't want anything getting in the way of me just picking up the kettle, filling it up with water, and putting it back down. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to use load cells. I'm going to put 4 load cells underneath like little feet underneath the whole base, and then I'm going to calibrate it so that when kettle is empty it's 0, and then I can like put in cup after cup, and then I can have it be like in Home Assistant telling me you have this many cups of water in the kettle. You know, cool stuff. For the temperature sensing, again, I don't want anything touching the kettle or being in the kettle, so I'm going to go with the non-contact temperature sensor that I used on my mug warmer. They're very good. I'm sure there's some kind of difference between the temperature in the kettle and what it reports to us through the outside, but again, I can just calibrate that to like have an offset, so that shouldn't be a problem. Turning it on and off, I did want to go with a really fancy solution with a servo that's gonna like go up and down and like toggle the switch for me and all that. And then after talking to my Patreons, I've realized that I should probably just go with a relay. It's not gonna get in the way of the automatic off switch of the kettle, which, you know, safety, which I kind of need. If the water for some reason continues boiling after, you know, it reaches 100 degrees, it's still gonna, you know, pop off and then turn itself off, just in case. So those are what I'm going to do. I'm going to order myself some load cells, the temperature sensor, a relay to deal with high amperage, high voltage stuff, and some kind of power supply because I'm planning to run it off of the mains going into the kettle. So I'll just like, you know, divide the cable inside I'm gonna have like a whole base for it, and then it's gonna have like little buttons for temperature and that. So I'm gonna go do some doodling to figure out how everything's gonna look, order the stuff, and I'll catch up with you when that's done. Yes, I did have all of those cookies in one day, and yes, I did feel extremely sick afterwards. On the plus side, all of the components are here. So let's start with the temperature sensor, because I've not tested it with ESP Home yet. Let's hope this part of the project goes smoothly, because I didn't think of an alternative. Clock is on 1, data is on 2. Clock is on 1, data is on 2. Plug this in. You're blinking. So let's go into Home Assistant. So I got ChatGPT to write me a script to read this sensor, and that is a very tiny script. I hope that does what I need it to do. Upload. Oh wow, look at that. It just straight up works. God damn, really? 32. What's the inside of my mouth? Hey, Did you know that if you support me over on Patreon, you get early access to my videos, work in progress updates on my Discord server, and exclusive content made specifically for my supporters? Oh, and discounts for the new merch store. So yeah, sign up today. All of the money goes directly back into the channel so that I can make better content. Now, I'm gonna go and leave my mouth. I don't remember how long I have to hold it. Look at that, 36! That is the easiest implementation of a sensor I think I've ever had. Nice! Alright, let's move on to the load cells, I guess. The last time I tried using a load cell, it wasn't one of these, but I also couldn't figure it out, so wish me luck. I found this diagram online, I'm gonna follow it, and hopefully it works. I need to label them. I'm gonna label them. Let's call this one upper left or right, lower left, and lower right. Upper left, black, goes with lower left. I'm just gonna twist tie these because, you know, I'm probably gonna screw something up. Lower right, lower left. No, that's not right. Upper left. God damn it. See what I mean? So then upper left goes to upper right. Red is the connection point, so that can go there. Right. Are all of those wires connected? Connected, 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 connected. Okay, so now we can solder on the red ones to the connection things. Let's get some solder on those holes. B minus, B plus I don't need. Lower right, you go to E plus. E minus, upper right. A minus is upper right. I screwed up. This one is A minus. Upper left is E minus. Cool. Lower left, A plus. Cool. So we should have those in the correct order. Fingers crossed. Right, now I need to hook up some wires to this end to actually get some data out of it. Red, black, brown, white. Okay, so once again I got GPT to spit out a quick script for me to just connect it and see if it works. So it wants me to connect the clock, which is white, to be connected to GPIO 3. And then we've got data, which is going into D2. Okay, so now I should be able to just plug it in, upload the updated code, and it will work. First try. Upload. Okay, fine, I'll do the compiling dance. Compiling dance, compiling dance, compiling dance. Oh my god, my shoulder hurts. I slept funny, and my shoulder blade is just not feeling it today. Getting old sucks. We are getting some kind of load cell information. It is saying minus 74 though, so let's take that with a grain of salt. Does it work? Minus 86. Okay, well it works. It might need a little bit of calibrating, but it does work, so that's good. Now we just need to make sure that this relay works the way I expect it to work. Now I'm being lazy and I'm just using the wires that I've already soldered onto the ESP, and I'm just gonna reprogram them, and if it works, I'm a happy boy. When I grow up, I wanna be sad. And install. Compiling dance, compiling dance, compiling dance. I should have nothing. Oh, wait, relay? Gonna run a quick continuity test, and normally closed, and when I do that, it comes on. Okay, so with all of the individual components verified working, I can go into Fusion and design the actual like base slash case to hold everything together. Fusion. Good news, everyone! After 20 hours of printing, all of the components have finished printing. In order of importance, number 1, we have the big cube thing with a lot of infill that holds the actual kettle. Number 2, the bottom panel with spaces for the weight sensors and some screws. so that we can screw it onto the bottom. Number 3, it's the thing that holds the temperature sensor at a certain height so that we can check the temperature of the kettle. Number 4, it's the thing that covers up the buttons on the front of the unit so that it looks somewhat pretty. I need to put labels on here so that I know what the buttons do. I stole this design off of my Prusa printer. So now I have to start by removing all of this support from the bottom of the base and probably doing quite a lot of cleanup. Fingers crossed, not too much. Wow, that's so much waste. It fits! Look at that! It's not flush, but it is pretty good. And then the kettle goes on there, like this way. And then the temperature sensor should go there. And that is at the perfect height to check the... Oh, I'm so excited. Now I just have to sand this down so that it fits in here. Because I assume it's not going to fit on my first try. Never mind. Okay, everything is cleaned up, so it's time to start putting together all of the electronics. I think I'm going to start with the scale sensors because they need to go at the bottom of this. And I did give myself little holes here to like poke the wires through, but I am now realizing that they are way too small, so we will have to enlarge them. I wasn't planning on drilling holes in my desk, but I have now. I'm gonna attach these with my favorite method, hot glue. Unfortunately, all of my batteries are dead, so I'm gonna have to use my bench power supply. Lower right is this one. Lower left, upper left, and upper right. That seems pretty good actually. I should be able to just put little dubs here on the side and just drop that in. It is metal and hot glue. Metal and hot glue don't typically work very well together, but it's gonna hold it enough for me to, like, you know, lift it, do some maintenance, put it back. Now I have to reconnect all of this jumble of wires. Since I'm actually like connecting these properly now, I'm gonna do it properly using, you know, shrink tubes and all that. Upper right connects to lower right. So we can grab those two, find a point in the middle where they connect, and then just splice them. That just leaves these guys. Now where do I want to position that? I want to say like here-ish. The wiring does look a little bit messy. I've not really thought about that. We'll just kind of have to deal with it. So for the power supply, some of you are gonna cringe very heavily. But I've decided that I will simply take one of these Samsung chargers and just tear it a new one. Okay, so I need to solder a wire here, and then I need to get power out of this USB port. Okay, so I just need to figure out which one of these is ground and which one of these is plus. Okay, it's the two outer ones, with ground being on that side. Let's disconnect the noodle. I'm gonna glue that down here. I'm gonna get the power to come, the power lead comes out here, so somewhere here we're gonna get power from it. And then that means we can put the relay there, so we can have the kettle going into the relay and into that. Okay, so we need to split it two ways. So we need power going in to a Wego. This may be a little tighter than I expected. I'm gonna glue down the Wego connectors so that they don't move around. Do I want to put that there? It should be there-ish. A lot of glue on that one, like so. This guy I can run up here, and this guy I can run in here. I'm gonna crimp these. That's in there good. Okay, so I'm gonna take this cable and I'm gonna use this as my main cable going in. That's gonna go in. We're gonna take ground. I didn't think any about strain relief, so we'll have to deal with that later. That there, and about the same for this one. We're gonna grab 2 of those. You can go in here, like that. You can go in here, like that. Okay, and that will be my power input. So ground is gonna go straight up to the thing, along with you and you, which I will shorten later, but I'm gonna leave these long for now. That goes into common. Normally closed. I'm gonna need to solder on some wires to this so that I can actually connect those to an ESP. The other thing is the temperature sensor. The temperature sensor is actually quite easy because this wire just connects into it, and then it should just slide in here like that, and that should hold it, you know, relatively securely. It's not like it's going to be moving around a lot, or maybe it will. Okay, what if it might not be the prettiest solution, but if I drill a hole here and put like a screw in there, it should just push it forward a bit. Okay, let's try that. Now, if you're bothered, you can just tap it with an M3 thread. And now if I just find an M3 screw, it's a little standoffish at the back, but I think I can just replace it with a smaller one and it won't be a problem. And that should just go through here, like so. And then that goes there, and that goes there, and that goes there. So I'm gonna cut off this connector that's on here, because I shouldn't be needing it. The final thing that I have left to assemble is the buttons in the front of this. So let me grab the buttons and some wire. So I made the cutouts and everything specifically for these buttons, and they should just fit in here nicely. I did not plan for this not to fit in nicely. Okay, so that should be in the right place, hopefully. If I put this on, I will know, because they are meant to be a certain depth in. And yeah, cool. Perfect. Okay, so let's do the other 4. Okay, so that's all 5 of those buttons in there, nice and fit, and working. So now I just have to wire them all up. This is by far one of the longest assemblies for a project I've had to do in a while. So I've decided I'm going to take a step back from the electronics just for a minute, and I'm going to do the heat press inserts for the upper half, for the bottom half to screw into. I might have to widen those holes out a little bit more. They are not big enough. So it's been a couple days since the last clip. We had the flu, we're still alive, everything's good. I did manage to do some work on this, by which I mean I connected all of the components to GPIO pins and then uploaded a very simple piece of code that just kind of gives me the outputs of all of the things. So if you can see on Home Assistant here, I have controls for the relay, which turns on and off. And I have to be very tempted not to touch those wires because that relay is connected to live along with all that, so that's great. We've got all of the buttons in order. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fantastic. We've got temperature from the probe thing, and then we have the weight sensors, which is currently like -2 tons, but if I press down on it, it goes to higher than -2 tons. So that needs to be calibrated. I can now somewhat assemble it and get started on the calibration. Okay, everything came back online. On. So now if I turn that on, it's still off, but if I do that, it turns on. Fantastic. Okay, let's calibrate the weight. So to calibrate the weight, I need to go into my terminal output for the kettle. And here we are getting a raw value from the weight sensor, which I can grab. It's currently minus something something. I can go to edit and I can tell it that minus something something is actually equal to 0. And then we want to go fill up the kettle with water. Alright, so I've got it filled up exactly to the max. And we can now take the weight of that and paste that into 1.7. Cool. So let's install this code. Dance, compiling dance, my shoulder doesn't hurt. Compiling dance, compiling dance. So what is the weight being reported now? That's not correct. That's not correct at all. Oh, it just told me it uploaded, but it didn't. Right, so this took a whole bunch of time to figure out. So the problem was, for some reason, I got everything connected, everything was working, we saw everything working properly, but for some reason, when I tried to push an update, it just wouldn't take it, like it wouldn't flash the ESP with it. So like, I rewrote a bunch of code, I removed features, I added features, I rewired stuff, and for some reason, I narrowed it down to the contactless temperature sensor, which just spits out a whole bunch of gobbledygook into the command line. I don't know why, it just does. And the most annoying thing about all of this is that I thought I was going to be done in like an hour or two, so I disassembled the kettle. And now I can't make tea, so I am very highly decaffeinated. So I'm going to go try to figure this out, and hopefully in the next take, I'm holding a cup of tea. Right, so it's been a little over a week since the last clip, and it's mostly because I've lost faith in this project. So what ended up happening is I got to the point where everything is assembled and most of it is working. Unfortunately, the main feature I wanted, which was like the water temperature control, doesn't work. The outside of the kettle takes a lot longer to heat up and does not at all reflect the temperature that's inside the kettle, which is very annoying. I've tried a lot of different methods of calibrating it, like curves and whatever, but unfortunately, when the water is boiling on the inside, the outside of it is at like 60 degrees, and that changes again if, for example, somebody uses the kettle beforehand, and I put more water in it, and then I boil again. Well, the outside of the kettle is still warm, and by the time that heat radiates, it just doesn't work the way I wanted it to work. And that was the conclusion on my Patreon exclusive version of this video. But they said that's not acceptable and that I should keep going. So I've decided to eliminate the temperature control setting thing, unfortunately. Luckily, there's a few things that actually work really well on this. Number one, the weight sensing. I can actually tell how much water is in the kettle really easily. By using another kettle, I'm going to pour water into this kettle at increments of a cup, and you'll be able to see it on the side here where it actually like works. So if I put the minimum amount of water, which is 2 in here, it should reflect 2 mugs. And if I go all the way up, it does work. So if I stop at, let's say 5, it should reflect 5, and then I can go all the way to the tippy top. 7, come on, there we go, and that should be 7 mugs, which is the maximum amount of water. So that works perfectly. I'm actually super happy with how the weight sensing works in this. I don't want to boil all of that water, so I'm just gonna pour most of it out. Just gonna leave myself like 2 mugs ish. Right, let's put that aside. Now, a couple of the options on the front, we have the on and off, which turns the relay on and off. It actually won't let you turn it on if there's not enough water in the kettle, which is great. So I can turn the kettle on, but it won't turn on because the relay's not on. But I can now press that and it's like, oh, there's enough water in here. I can turn on. Fantastic. We have a notify me button. This button is specifically designed so that when I boil water and then I walk off, like I do a lot, I will just turn the kettle on and then walk to my computer, and then like 15-20 minutes later I'm like, oh, I boiled water. So this button specifically notifies me when the kettle is boiled. And the way it knows the water is boiled is with the temperature sensor. It's kind of iffy, so I wait for the water to boil and then I wait for the outside to get to like 80 degrees, and then when it gets to 80 degrees it actually notifies me. The other button we have is a 15-minute delay. For example, if I go and take a shower, I can be like, when I come out the shower, I'm gonna want a tea. So I press that, I go, take my shower, dry off. By the time I'm out, the kettle is boiled. And once again, it won't turn the relay on if there isn't enough water in the kettle. And then the last button on the end here, this one doesn't work. I've just been using that for testing notifications. So if I click that, my phone actually gets a notification saying test notification. And the last one on the end here is actually to open my bin, which is why this guy is here. I've removed him off the bin just for this so I can show you guys, but if I press that, it opens my bin, and then when I press it again, it closes my bin. So I can do like the trick shot from before where I can like open my bin, throw my tea bag away, and then just close the bin again. So that actually works really well. Let's do the test. Right, so I'm going to tell it to notify me, and I'm also going to tell it to turn on the kettle. So now, when it boils, my phone should receive a notification. I'm going to record my screen. See, now the water is almost boiling and it's still like, I'm at 50 degrees. So it's not great. Maybe eventually I'll be able to figure out some kind of temperature curve, but for now it's not worth messing with. I've even tried sanding off a bit of the kettle, thinking that it was like a reflection issue because like thermal cameras don't see well through reflective surfaces. So I thought that would be an issue, but no, I've sanded off a little bit and it doesn't seem to have made any difference. We are at 72 degrees, and as you can see, the kettle is now boiled. So we are now just waiting for the outside to actually reach 80 degrees, at which point I will get a notification. Okay, and we should get a notification. There it is. Kettle is hot. Fantastic. Another feature is that I can actually turn it on through Home Assistant. I do first of all have to turn on the kettle, and then when I'm in Home Assistant I can see I've got enough water, and then I've got the big kettle button that will turn on the kettle. But also the kettle will not let me turn it on if there isn't enough water. So I can just flick that on and it's going to turn on my kettle. Fantastic. It doesn't let me turn off the kettle. That is a bug I did not intend. I will look into that later. But yes, it works. Okay, so I'm gonna go beta test this for like a week, see how I feel about it, see what my roommates feel about it, and then maybe in the future I'll make a version 2 where I just get a regular temperature control kettle and just add some smart features. If you're interested in that, let me know down below the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you on next week's live stream. Goodbye.
Have you tried like naked kid? What are you doing?
Well, you guys booked it at a really awkward time.